Welcome. We are now approaching end of module 2, that is flow sheet synthesis. In the previous lecture, we dealt with the recycle structure of the flow sheet, and then we had two topics. First is the recycle material balance, and second the reactor heat effects. We saw many thumb rules to determine the size of the reactor, the exact heat transfer effects that can occur in a particular reactor, and how we can deal with the reactor sizing on the basis of the heat effects. In this lecture, we shall deal with the two additional topics of recycle structure of the flow sheet. First is the equilibrium limitation or equilibrium reactions, and second is the reactor design, as whether we have to use a plug flow reactor or continuous stirred tank reactor, and how we go for addition of different reactants so as to increase the selectivity and yield of the desired product. Okay. Let us start with the first thing, equilibrium limitation. Equilibrium limitations are quite important. Okay. In the previous lectures, we had the hydrodealkylation process as our case study, and in that process the diphenyl was the side product, and it was formed through equilibrium or reversible reaction. We had seen the process alternative of recycling the diphenyl or eliminating the reversible byproduct, and we saw the pros and cons of that particular decision. However, in many cases the equilibrium conversions are important, because we have to see that the side products are not accumulated in the process, okay, and they are below the desired limit. Okay. Now, how do we calculate the equilibrium conversion? We use exactly the same procedure of calculating process flows as a function of design variables, conversion, molar ratio of reactants, etc., and then we substitute these flows into the equilibrium relationship for the particular product and see whether the conversion that is obtained is above or below the equilibrium value. Obviously, if it is higher than the equilibrium value, then our calculations are wrong, because the conversion cannot exceed equilibrium value and we have to go for iteration. Okay. In some cases, it is necessary to determine the exact value of equilibrium conversion as a function of design variable, because this value appears in the kinetic model used to determine the reactor size. We shall see all these things with an example of cyclohexane production. Okay. So, that point we note. Equilibrium reactions, case study of cyclohexane production. Cyclohexane is produced by hydrogenation of benzene. So, the basic reaction is benzene plus 3 moles of hydrogen giving C6H12, that is cyclohexane. A typical flow sheet for this particular process is that there is a reactor, to which benzene and hydrogen are fed. Okay. Hydrogen often contains impurities such as nitrogen or methane. This is a vapor phase process. So, benzene is heated till it vaporizes, and then the two reactants are mixed. The reactant mixture is passed over the catalyst in a catalytic reactor, and then the reactor effluent is then cooled and the product is distilled off. Okay. So, the reactor is followed by the separator, and then cyclohexane comes as the main product. Then there is a recycle stream of hydrogen. Hydrogen is fed in excess in this situation, so as to force benzene conversion to near completion. Okay. benzene and cyclohexane have very similar properties. Therefore, any benzene left in the cyclohexane is difficult to separate because relative volatilities are very close to 1. In addition, benzene is carcinogenic, it is toxic. So, we would like to have as little benzene unconverted as possible. Okay. But still we can show here a recycle stream for benzene. Okay. So, this is a basic flow sheet at level 3, that is the recycle structure of the flow sheet. Now, let us do the material balance. The material balance will obviously start with certain production rate of cyclohexane. We have to make certain assumptions that maybe there are no losses. Okay. Recovery and recycle is 100%. Okay. So, that point we note assumption, complete recovery and recycle with no losses. Okay. Now, the desired production rate of cyclohexane we take as 100 mole per hour. We say that this is a continuous process. So, the typical working hours are 8000 hours per year, and the production rate of cyclohexane that we denote by letters Pc is 100 mole per hour. Here there is no side reaction, so selectivity is 1. Therefore, the benzene in fresh feed is also 100 mole per hour. We have already shown a recycle and purge stream. Okay. So, let us say that Fe denotes excess hydrogen fed to the process. Remember, this excess hydrogen is in the fresh gas stream. Having said this, we can immediately write the total hydrogen in the feed. The total hydrogen in the feed would be the hydrogen that is required for the reaction, which will be 3 into Pc, because stoichiometry is 3 moles of hydrogen are required per mole of benzene. So, the hydrogen for the reaction will be 3 Pc plus the excess hydrogen. Now, we assume here that the hydrogen feed is about 97.5% pure with 2.5% of impurities or inerts such as nitrogen and methane. Okay. So, this comes out to be 0.975 Fg, and here we note that fresh gas assumed to contain 2.5% of inerts or impurities. The purge gas. Purge gas should comprise of all fresh excess hydrogen plus impurities with fresh gas. So, this becomes Fe, all fresh excess hydrogen plus 0.025 into Fg. So, this is the purge gas. And now, we make a balance for the fresh gas, which is also known as makeup gas. Some books give this terminology, makeup gas. We make balance on only hydrogen. Okay. Now, let YPH denote the composition of hydrogen in purge gas. So, YPH will be Fe divided by Fe plus 0.025 Fg. The hydrogen in the purge gas divided by the total purge gas. Okay. Now, the fresh gas or makeup gas contains 0.975 times 97.5% hydrogen. This hydrogen is utilized for the reaction and rest is purged. If we substitute for Fe 0.975 into Fg minus 3 Pc, the total hydrogen fed to the process minus the hydrogen consumed in the reaction, then we can write 0.975 into Fg is equal to 3 Pc plus Yph into 0.975 into Fg minus 3 Pc plus 0.025 into Fg, and then by rearranging we get Fg is equal to 3 Pc into 1 minus Yph divided by 0.975 minus Yph. We are going almost the same way as we did calculations for the hydrodealkylation process. We want to bring all the material balance in terms of few design variables, so that by playing with the design variable we can find out optimum values of the process flows. So, this is as far as the reactant flows into the process are concerned. Okay. Now, let us try to do the recycle balance. Like HDA process, here also we introduce design variable which is molar ratio, the molar ratio of hydrogen to benzene, excess reactant to limiting reactant, okay, and then the total benzene fed to the process is Fb, which has to be equal to Pc by X, where X is the per pass conversion of benzene. You will recall that we had developed a very similar expression for the total feed of toluene to the HDA process, okay, where the total toluene Ft was equal to FFT by X. Now, FFT is the fresh toluene fed to the process, which is always converted, which is equal to the production rate of benzene in case of HDA process. Okay. So, that point we note here, Fp is the total benzene fed to the process. Okay. Now, what will be the recycle gas? Let us say that the recycle gas is denoted by Rg. The hydrogen in the recycle gas will be obviously Rg into Yph. The mole fraction of hydrogen in purge as well as the recycle gas is same, because recycle and purge are streams obtained by splitting the gas flow from the separator. Okay. So, the mole fraction of hydrogen is same in both of these. Now, Pc by X is the amount of benzene and Mr is the molar ratio of hydrogen. So, the total hydrogen at the reactor inlet is Pc by X into Mr, okay. And out of this 0.975 into Fg is the hydrogen contributed by the makeup gas or the fresh gas. Therefore, obviously, the remaining hydrogen is from the recycled gas. So, this is the recycled hydrogen, this is total hydrogen at reactor inlet, and this is the hydrogen contributed by makeup gas stream. Okay. So, by rearranging this, we can get expression for Rg in terms of the design variables YPH and MR. So, that completes the recycle balance. Now, let us look at the flow rates at reactor outlet or reactor effluent. The reactor effluent will contain cyclohexane, it will contain unconverted benzene, and it will contain hydrogen, X hydrogen, which remains unreacted, in addition to the impurities. Okay. So, let us identify the molar flow rates. Cyclohexane will be Pc mole per hour, because that is what we started with. Okay. Benzene will be total benzene fed to the process is Pc by X, out of which unconverted is 1 minus X, because X is conversion. Okay. So, that is Pc into 1 minus X by X. Okay. And then hydrogen. Hydrogen is total hydrogen fed is Mr into X into Pc, and 3 Pc is the hydrogen that is consumed in the process. So, the total hydrogen that exits the reactor is Mr into Pc by X minus 3 Pc. So, we take Pc common, and Mr by X minus 3 into Pc is the total hydrogen flow rate at the reactor outlet. Then there will be inerts. Now, these inerts will be the inerts entering through the fresh gas as well as the recycled gas. As far as fresh gas is concerned, the inerts are 0.025 into Fg, 2.5% of the fresh gas, plus the non-hydrogen component of the recycled gas, that is 1 minus YPH. YPH is the mole fraction of hydrogen in recycled gas. So, the non-hydrogen component of the recycled gas is inerts. Okay. And then we substitute for Rg, and then we can, if you substitute for Rg and Fg, you can get this expression, which is can be very easily obtained. It is simple mathematical jugglery. Okay. Now, if you add all these flows, the total flow at reactor outlet would be Pc into 1 by X plus Mr by X minus 3 into 1 divided by YPH. Now, these algebraic simplifications I am leaving as exercise for you. These are rather straightforward, no complications. And then the equilibrium relation the equilibrium constant will be Ke, which is equal to the fugacity of cyclohexane divided by the fugacity of benzene at reactor outlet and the fugacity of hydrogen to the power 3 because of the stoichiometry. Okay. We try to write the same equilibrium constant in terms of fugacity coefficient and mole fraction. Yc is the mole fraction of cyclohexane in the reactor exit flow. YH is the mole fraction of hydrogen in the reactor exit flow, YB is the mole fraction of benzene in the hydrogen in the reactor exit flow. Now, you can very easily calculate YC, YH and YB by dividing the molar flow rate of either cyclohexane or hydrogen or benzene by the total flow rate. Now, fugacity coefficient for hydrogen can be assumed to be 1 and the ratio of fugacity coefficient for cyclohexane to benzene can be assumed to be about 1.13. And then if you substitute for all these quantities, okay, you can get the expression 1.13 into P tot cube. P tot is the total pressure of the reactor into K E is equal to X E divided by 1 minus X E into Y P H minus 3 X E plus M R molar ratio divided by M R minus 3 X E into Y P H whole bracket Q. I leave the derivation of this particular simplified expression as homework. As I said, the derivation is rather straightforward. We have already calculated all molar flows, we have calculated the total molar flow rate at the reactor outlet. What you have to do is only to substitute for YC, YH and YB, and the numbers for the fugacity coefficient. For hydrogen it is 1 and ratio of fugacity coefficients for cyclohexane and benzene as 1.13, and you can very easily obtain this particular expression. Now, as I said, benzene and cyclohexane are very close boilers, therefore, we would like to have almost no unconverted benzene left in the reactor effluent as possible. Okay. So, we have to force the equilibrium conversion to 1, that point we note. Okay. Benzene and cyclohexane being very close boilers are difficult to separate, and hence the benzene conversion, benzene equilibrium conversion is forced close to 1. Now, we have obtained an expression for Xc, the equilibrium conversion. However, it is not explicit, but by making some algebraic modifications, for example, if we assume that for very low values of x, we can take 1 divided by 1 plus x as 1 minus x, okay. Some simplification. You can convert the same expression that we derived earlier into this approximate equation. Remember, I am not writing equal, but an approximate sign, okay. Approximate sign. Xc is equal to 1 plus 1 divided by 1.13 into Ke into P tot cube into Yph plus Mr minus 2 divided by Mr minus 3 into Yph cube, and this whole thing raised to minus 1. If we try to identify from this the design variables that affect equilibrium conversion, we can see these are the equilibrium convergence is a function of reactor pressure and molar ratio, and of course, the temperature. Now, hydrogenation reactions are exothermic reactions. So, if you decrease temperature, obviously the conversion goes up, but temperature we have not introduced in our analysis. So, we will mainly focus on the first two parameters or first two design variables, that is reactor pressure and molar ratio. Obviously, if reactor pressure increases or molar ratio increases, Xc increases, and that is what is indicated by this expression, the expression that we have derived. As P tot increases, as molar ratio increases, Xc increases. But what is the optimum limits for these variables? Can we increase the reactor pressure indeterminately? No, there is a limit. Let us try to identify the pros and cons of these design variables. If you use high pressure reactor, the reactor cost goes up, and of course, you have to compress the feed to higher pressure, that means large feed compressor is required, which increases both operating and capital cost. If you use higher molar ratio of hydrogen, larger and larger amount of hydrogen is going to remain unconverted. Okay. In the first place, the total hydrogen that is fed to the reactor increases, so the compression cost increases. Secondly, larger and larger amount of hydrogen remains unconverted, so the recycle cost goes up. So, those points we note. Okay. Large recycle flows, larger compressor, cost. So, these are the disadvantages or the other side of the coin for the molar ratio. Okay. Now, the temperature. Of course, we have not considered temperature in our analysis, but we can identify the effects of temperature by simple principles of physical chemistry. If the temperature reduces, obviously the equilibrium conversion will go up because the reaction is exothermic. However, the reaction kinetics goes down. Okay. So, that point we note. Equilibrium conversion increases with temperature reduction, but at cost of slower kinetics, which means that to achieve same conversion of benzene, I would require reactor of a larger size. Okay. And that would add to both capital and operating cost. So, this example basically demonstrates the treatment of equilibrium limited reactions. We have to first identify the variables that affect the equilibrium conversion, and then we have to identify the pros and cons of that particular design variable. Now, let us see some more examples, how to increase the equilibrium or how to get rid of the equilibrium limitations of a particular process. One effective means or effective solution is separator reactor. The separator reactor essentially is based on withdrawal of one of the product as the reaction proceeds. Withdrawal of one of the product to shift equilibrium to desired side, that is to have as much conversion as possible. Okay. And an example in this category is that of isopropanol dehydration isopropanol dehydrogenation to produce acetone. At 300 degrees Fahrenheit, the equilibrium conversion of this process is quite small, that is about 32%. Okay. Now, what is done is that the catalyst for the process is suspended in a high boiling solvent by means of mechanical stirring. Isopropanol is fed continuously to this solvent, or it is mixed with the solvent, and the temperature of this particular system is maintained above the boiling point of acetone. Now, due to this, as soon as acetone is formed, it is evaporated from the reactor and it can be recovered along with hydrogen at the reactor outlet, or it can be removed from the reactor, and thus it helps shift equilibrium to the right side or to the product side. Okay. Sometimes series of 3 reactors, all of them CSTRs with a pump around loop, is also used. Another example that can be given is that of sulfuric acid manufacture. In this process, the sulfur dioxide is oxidized to sulfur trioxide over a catalyst, vanadium pentoxide, and the process is highly exothermic. Okay. So, DCDA mode is used for reaction, which means that the mixture of sulfur dioxide and oxygen is heated and it is passed over the bed of V2O5. The temperature of the stream rises very fast. Then, after certain conversion, the stream containing SO3, SO2 and oxygen is taken out, it is cooled, and then readmitted into a second catalyst bed where further conversion takes place. So, that point you note, DCDA process. The stream of SO2 and O2 is contacted 2 times with catalyst bed with intermediate cooling. And later on this SO3 is absorbed in dilute H2SO4 to generate oleum H2S2O7, which is diluted further to get sulfuric acid. Now, high temperature would mean faster kinetics, which would mean smaller reactor volume. But the equilibrium conversion is small and therefore, large recycle cost. So, the DCDA process basically tries to increase the conversion at a cost of 2 reactor beds. Okay. In many cases, diluents are added to force conversion to completion. Example in this category is that of styrene manufacture. The chemistry is like this: ethyl benzene is dehydrogenated to generate styrene and hydrogen, and there are 2 side reactions that take place. Ethyl benzene can also go decomposition to produce benzene and ethylene, and ethyl benzene can also get disproportionated to produce toluene and methane. Now, all of these reactions occur at more or less same temperature and pressure, 20 psi absolute pressure, which is close to atmospheric, and 1100 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. Now, in this case, steam is added, either steam or methane at the reactor inlet. To ethyl benzene. Now, what it does is that it lowers the partial pressure of styrene and hydrogen. And therefore, it helps shift the equilibrium of the first reaction, the ethyl benzene going to styrene and hydrogen, to the right side. Okay. Now, steam remains as an impurity in the product styrene, okay, because it is used as a diluent and then it condenses after the reaction. However, the water and hydrocarbon mixture is usually immiscible. Okay. So, you can easily get rid of water by having a phase split. Okay. In some cases where the organic material dissolves in water, you can have the steam stripping of this particular organic solvent. So, recovery of the desired product from water is not so difficult, and most of the times there is no need to recycle water. When we have a gas recycle and purge stream, a major equipment adds to the process, and that is the compressor. compressors are expensive piece of equipment both in terms of capital cost as well as operating cost. There are several types of compressors, centrifugal compressor, reciprocating compressor, but the most popular compressors on industrial scale are the centrifugal gas compressor. Okay. The theoretical horsepower for the compressor is given as 3.03 into 10 to power minus 5 divided by gamma into P in into Q in into P out by P in raised to gamma minus 1. Then this is a correlation, remember it is not a formula. And now the P in is the inlet pressure which is given in pound force per feet square. Q in is the inlet flow rate which is given in feet cube per minute. Gamma is a constant given as Cp by Cv minus 1 divided by Cp by Cv. Okay. And since it is an adiabatic compression, the temperature that is reached after compression is T out by T in is P out by P in raised to gamma. It is like a simple polytropic process. Okay. Now, this is the theoretical horsepower. We have to determine the efficiency of the process of the compressor. You can easily assume an efficiency of 90% for initial design calculations. So, the driver efficiency or motor efficiency, you can take it as 90%, and then due to the fluid friction loss, suction and discharge losses, frictional loss at the port or moving metal part or fluid turbulence, another 90% efficiency can be assumed. Okay. That loss of efficiency through fluid friction, then suction and discharge, so on and so forth. Okay. Moving metal parts. Now, compressors are expensive piece of equipment I just mentioned. Even the repair is quite difficult. Okay. So, we always have to have spares of the compressor. The spares have to be kept in stock to take care of unforeseen failure or unforeseen operational problems. Compressors are always installed in pair. Where one is on stream or one is operational and another is standby. Moreover, it is a convention that compressors once installed have to operate about 60% of the total load. Now, in many cases you have to compress to very high pressure level. Therefore, a single compressor may not serve the job. So, you have to go for multi-stage compressor. Multi-stage compressors always have interstage cooling, because compression is an adiabatic process. So, the temperature of the gas stream increases, therefore, we have to have interstage cooling. Okay. Now, due to the cooling, if the gas contains some condensable components, those can be easily separated, and the interstage coolers are always provided knockout drums which collects the condensate. Typically, for a 3-stage compressor, within interstage cooling. The work that is required is given as the molecular weight m of the gas, r the gas constant into the inlet temperature into the summation of the 3 compression ratios from stage 1 to 2 raised to gamma, from stage 2 to 3 raised to gamma, plus stage 3 to exit raised to gamma minus 1. Okay. So, this is the work that is required for the compressor. Now, what should be the intermediate compression ratios? That is a design variable. You can very easily show, and I am leaving this as an exercise for you, that the minimum work is obtained when the intermediate compression ratios are equal. Which essentially means that P 2 by P 1 should be equal to P 3 by P 2 should be equal to P 4 by P 3. You can very easily show this particular result. I am giving the hint. You have to take the partial derivative of the work with respect to the intermediate pressures and then equate to 0 to get this result. The cost, annualized installed cost of the particular compressor. Okay. Now, usually the cost is correlated to brake horsepower, which is the theoretical horsepower divided by 0.9, because we assumed 90% efficiency. Once the brake horsepower is known, BHP is known, you can use any cost correlation such as Gutierrez correlation to determine the installed cost. Now, Gutierrez correlation for compressor is as follows. The inflation index, now I am using Marshall and Swift index MNS, divided by 280. Now, 280 was the MNS index in 1969 when Gutierrez correlations were proposed, into 517.5 into BHP raised to 0.82 into 2.11 plus FC, where FC is the correction factor for the design. If you multiply this by approximately 1 by 3, that is capital charge factor, you will get the annualized installed cost. So, this completes our discussion on the equilibrium limited process. In the next lecture, we shall see the reactor design